Number 5 on this list is the Red Book Ritual, or also called the Game of the Red Book. This is another one of our classic rituals where we're going to be contacting a spirit to answer questions and potentially tell us the future. The ritual originated in Mexico and has been part of local Mexican lore for years. As we've seen throughout this series of demonic rituals you should never perform, whenever you contact a spirit, whatever the method, there are consequences. The Game of the Red Book is no different. To perform this ritual, you'll need a red hardcover book that you've never read with no pictures in it. At least one candle to light whatever room you choose to perform your ritual, and at least one other person to perform that ritual with. Head into your room with your partner or group of people that you're going to be doing this with, and sit either across from one another or in a circle surrounding the book. Light your candle and have it be the only light in the room. Whoever wants to go first, grab the book, place your palm on the cover of it, and say, "Red Book, can I enter your game?" Then, with your eyes closed, flip to a part of the book and put your finger on that page. Open your eyes and read the sentence. If this is a positive sentence, something you'll need to interpret, then you can play the game. If it's a negative sentence, then you're either not permitted to play or you're going to need to try again. Assuming that it's positive, you can now ask a different question to the red book. Repeat the process that you just did, and the spirit on the other side should guide your finger to a sentence in the book that will answer your question. This ritual doesn't seem too dangerous, however there have been stories of people going missing after this game, or the red book not allowing you to stop playing the game, and if you try to leave, bringing on dire consequences. Number 4 on this list is the picture game. This is a demonic ritual where the goal is to capture a ghost or a demon on camera. For this to work, you're going to need a wide array of unique items. Some string long enough to make a circle out of it, scissors, a small mirror for you and every person who intends to partake in this ritual, a camera with a flash, but it can't be a phone, it's got to be an actual camera, a glass to drink out of, some wine, and a quiet room. Once you have all of these things in place, you and the others doing this will want to start at midnight. Tie your string into a circle and place it in the center of your room. Put your glass in the center of it and fill it with the wine that you brought. Have everybody sit around the circle and place your mirror in front of yourself facing up towards the ceiling. Now that you're in position, grab each other's hands and go around the circle one by one saying, "I trust you." After you've done this once, you can grab your camera. Now one by one, take that camera and point it into the middle of the circle and say, "I caught you," right as you take a picture. The entire group should do this individually 3 times so that everybody has taken 3 pictures. Don't look at the pictures after you've taken them, just keep going around the circle. Now after everybody's done this 3 times, you once again need to go down the circle and say, "It's time to go home." Once everybody's done this, grab your scissors and cut open the string circle. Take the wine outside and dump it onto a patch of earth. This action ultimately ends the ritual. When everything is done, you can look at your pictures now, and it's said that if you're lucky, you will have caught a ghost or a demon in one or a few of them. All of this seems pretty tame, but there are some risks involved, of course. During the process of the ceremony, there have been reports of people in the circle getting hysterical. So much so that they start crying and losing their minds as if they've been taken over by someone else. This can be excruciatingly painful as well, with reports of people clawing themselves until they start to bleed. If you do manage to get through the ritual without a hitch, then you could come out with a cool photo, but it may not be worth it. Number 3 on this list is the Ouija board. I haven't put the Ouija board on a previous list yet because I imagine you're all decently familiar with it, but considering we're on part 4, I think it's time to bring it up. The Ouija board was patented in 1891 and has been a staple in ghost stories for the 125 years that it's been in existence. The Ouija board, or the spirit board as some like to call it, has been paraded as a tool that can be used to contact the dead and speak with spirits. This board was initially made by Hasbro as a toy for kids, but many people nowadays associate it with the work of the devil. Using a Ouija board is quite simple, honestly. The board is typically structured where it has the words yes and no in the top corners. It has the words goodbye at the bottom of the board, and in the middle of it there's the entire alphabet along with the numbers 0 through 9. The board will also come with a planchette, and this is what you'll be using to spell out the answers to your questions. Get at least one other friend and place your hands on this device. Then begin asking simple questions to the board. You'll notice that the board will begin to respond and the planchette will start to move, even though you'll not be initiating the movement yourself. If this does happen, then you have now contacted a demon or a spirit. The problem with this board is that many people try and contact specific individuals, and it truly isn't that simple. A Ouija board is really like a scary dice roll. You may get lucky and contact the spirit of your grandmother who had passed, or you may get unlucky and contact a demon. The amount of stories associated with a Ouija board where things have gone wrong is truly endless. In fact, I made an entire video about it on this channel, top 5 scary demonic messages from a Ouija board. If you want to hear specifics on how crazy this thing can get, then definitely go and check that out. But my recommendation in that video and in this one is to never use one yourself. Number 2 on this list is the Dream of the Dead. The Dream of the Dead is a ritual performed by yourself as a means to hear what the dead have to say. This ritual is a little sneaky. It can only be performed on Halloween, so if you want to do it, then you're going to have to wait a whole nother year to try. To do this, you'll need 4 candles and something to light them with. Salt, an alarm clock, a picture of the person you want to connect with, and a safe place to sleep. You'll want to start setting up your room at around 9 p.m. on Halloween night. Clear the room of any electronics and make space on the floor. Spread your salt in a circle on the ground of the area you want to sleep. If you're sleeping in a bed, then make the circle around the bed. Place the picture you have beneath the pillow that you're going to use. Light your candles in a separate part of the room in a rectangle big enough for you to sit inside. Now that everything is set, you can begin. Go to your rectangle of candles and place yourself inside of it. Close your eyes and think about a group of people that are dead that are now surrounding you. Think about this image and say the words, "On this night of nights, I call the gatekeeper, divider of the realm of the living and the dead, and I demand communion with the peaceful dead." Now, go to your bed and sleep. Once you fall asleep, you should see the person whose picture is beneath your pillow. They will appear in your dream and speak to you. Don't speak back, just listen to what they have to say. The problem with this ritual is that sometimes it isn't that person who you intended, kind of similarly to the Ouija board. People have also reported feeling trapped in this dream, like it's never ending and their whole lives are being spent in this dream, or at least that's what it feels like to them. I think hearing from the dead could be cool, but I personally would not want to risk a harrowing experience with a demon in my dreams. Number 1 on this list is Sarita. Sarita is a ritual that originated in Spain and is used as a method of gaining information from a dead spirit. Whomst Sarita is somewhat up in the air. Now, some people believe that Sarita is one person and that she's the daughter of Lucifer. Others believe that Sarah and Sarita are 2 different people, sisters that were brutally murdered and now play this game with the living. Whether it be the daughter of Lucifer or 2 dead girls, you will be dealing with demon spirits, and that can always go wrong. To perform this ritual, you're gonna need 1 other friend. You also need 2 standard coins. Now, do not try to rig the coins so they're weighted, or you'll be killed. You and your friend can start at any time of the day. You just need to sit on the ground of whatever area you've chosen and say in unison, "Sarita, may I enter your game?" Then, simultaneously, flip your coins. If both land heads up, then you can continue going. If both land tails up, then you stop immediately and do not proceed. If one is heads and one is tails, then it's said that you can continue, but do so with caution. Assuming you got both heads up, then proceed by asking Sarita some yes or no questions. You need to go one by one, and you should never speak over yourselves. Ask her a yes or no question, and then both flip your coins. The same logic follows as before. Heads is a yes, tails are a no, and if they differ, then it's a maybe. When you've had enough, you must ask Sarita, may I leave your game? Then flip your coins and continue to ask this question until you get heads. Leaving early, that's a big no-no, so don't do that. The ritual here isn't too dangerous, but it's what has happened after this ritual. People have reported getting haunted by some sort of demon figure following this game, or hearing voices in their heads that won't go away. Sarita, whoever it is assuredly a demon, and they're not to be trusted. Well, there you have it, guys. That is our list of the top 5 demonic rituals you should never perform. Part 4.
In at number 5 we have The Resident. This is a true story posted by redditor McElmary 3 years ago. It all started when their friend moved into a farmhouse. The house had a barn and the barn had a basement. The basement had a set of stairs that led to nowhere. The family moved into the home as it was on the market for less than it should be worth. They saw it as a steal. They later found out that the home's previous owner had taken their own life in the barn. They left behind a letter that read, "Resident told me to." Their friend refused to visit the barn. They were not even curious to walk around its walls. One night their friends thought it would be a good idea to hold a seance. They admit that they were young and rather foolish to think this was a good idea. They set up everything by the instructions they saw online. They had a circle of candles around the group and they all held hands. They were sat next to their friend who lived there during the seance. The group asked if there was someone there and if they can show themselves. Their friend squeezed their hand tighter and tighter. She then turned her head and said to them, "Let's go to the barn. Someone there wants to talk to us." They immediately broke the circle and blew out the candles. They turned on the lights and looked at their friend. The friend fell out of their trance and forgot what happened. To this day they never remembered that night. 1 week after their seance, the friend's dad was found in the barn. He had taken his own life. Beside him was a letter that read, "I'm sorry, I had to listen," as if there was an entity telling him to do that to himself. The redditor explained maybe it was just a weird coincidence. They did not want to believe what had happened. It does seem there was some dark entity in that barn telling the occupants of the home to do horrible things. Coming in at number 4 we have Ariana Grande. It is not just ordinary people like you and me that have supernatural encounters. Sometimes celebrities can have encounters with demons and otherworldly forces. In 2013, Ariana Grande told Complex about an encounter she had with a demonic spirit. The magazine tried to steer the conversation to music and her personal life, but she insisted on telling the world her story. She admitted that it left her shaken and scared. She won't try to encounter them again. She told them that her incident happened while in Kansas City on her visit to Skull Cemetery. She explained this cemetery is known as one of the 7 gates of hell on Earth. The Pope won't even fly through the airspace above the graveyard due to its dark energy. She was visiting the cemetery with her friends to investigate the claims of its paranormal nature. She said when they entered the area, her and her group of friends could smell sulfur. This is one of the main signs that you are in the presence of a demon. They also noticed a few flies appeared inside of their car. She took this to be the second sign of a demon entity being nearby. She did not let these signs stop her. They entered the cemetery and started to walk around and take pictures. Once they left, they reviewed the pictures that they had taken. Ariana had a photo of a gravestone with 3 distinct faces. She said the faces were textbook demons. She wanted to share this with the world and attempted to send the photo to her manager. When she tried to send the picture, it came up with an error message. "This file can't be sent. It's 666 megabytes." She said after this, weird things started to happen to her. She heard whispers in her home when she was alone. She found no reason for these voices. One night she saw a massive dark cloud above her head. She woke up suddenly and tried to clear the cloud, but when she attempted to touch it, it disappeared. Scared about what might happen next, Ariana deleted the picture. She has vowed to never go back to the cemetery. In at number 3, I was possessed. One Reddit user told the story of how they were possessed. They don't remember any of what happened. They were only a baby when all of this went down. They started off their story by explaining that they were a very calm and quiet baby. When they were 2 years old, it all started on one random night. They were lying in their crib staring upwards, when suddenly they started screaming like crazy. They then started running in circles on their side while screaming. It was not a nightmare as they were awake while it was happening. It was also not seen as a tantrum or them looking for attention, as they were clearly terrified. This continued to happen every night for 6 months. They would behave like this until dawn. When dawn hit, they would go back to sleep as if nothing happened. Their parents took them to many different churches and priests to see if anyone could help. Nothing worked. This went on continuously for 6 months. The family decided to immigrate after the 6 months, meaning they would be moving home. Once they left home, it stopped. It never once happened again. Everyone in the family was aware of what had happened. They chose to never tell them what happened. They lived in fear of the possession taking hold of them again. The family had decided that the less they knew, the better. They thought that if they knew, they would be more vulnerable to it happening again. They were lucky to escape the demon. Hopefully the people who bought the house didn't have the same experience. In at number 2 we have Blue Mountains. One woman told her story of an encounter she had in the Blue Mountains in Australia. She said that she frequently went bushwalking. She would usually go with her dad, but for shorter walks she would go alone. Being a woman walking alone in the woods, she would take knives with her for protection, but she always felt safe going alone. One day she decided she wanted a couple of days of peace and quiet in the mountains by herself. So she decided to take an overnight walk. The walk was fine, she had no issues. She often saw other walkers going in the opposite direction. As it got darker, she picked a little spot just off from the track to set up her tent for the night. As night fell, everything seemed fine and she drifted off to sleep. She was awoken abruptly not long after by what sounded like someone running past her tent on the track, but it went past too fast with too little steps to be anything human. The force shook her like a train had just passed by the outside of her tent. She felt uneasy but thought it must be a tree falling or something else that would ease her mind, even if it didn't really make sense for the appearance she just had. She drifted back off to sleep. The next morning she had her breakfast, packed up her tent and got ready to carry on her walk. She started her walk again. She again passed a few people. After that she was alone for maybe an hour and a half. She then heard a stick breaking from behind her. She said it sounded like it came from behind her on the left, away from the track. When she turned around she was scared to death. She felt a fear like nothing she has ever felt before. A fair distance away in the bushes something was standing there and looking directly at her. She wanted to believe it was a person, but she knew this was nothing human. It was a very tall figure, around 9 feet tall. Its skin was a dark grey colour, its eyes were large and dark, its arms and legs were very long. It did not have a mouth, nose or ears, just large black hole eyes. She had tears rolling down her face, but her feet were frozen in place. She stared at the creature for what felt like a lifetime. She felt filled with dread. The fear kept building until finally she broke her gaze and ran. She ran as fast as she could until she caught up with the other walkers. She broke down as soon as she saw them. They were shocked when they saw her. She was clearly distraught. She told them what happened, but no one could understand the fear she felt or what she saw. She believed she saw a demon. She can't find any other explanation for what she saw. She didn't go walking alone ever again. And finally, coming in at number 1, we have Amy Stamatus. Amy Stamatus is a woman from Arkansas who in 2019 was left paralyzed from the waist down after she fell from the secondary story of her home. This might seem like an accident, but this is very different. 7 months before the incident, Amy's life was much different. She lived with her husband and worked as a med-flight nurse at the local medical center. Her last shift at the hospital changed her life. She was on her shift when a burn patient came in for her to treat. She wheeled him in on a stretcher and completed a report on his wounds. The next thing she knew, she was wandering the halls of the emergency room. Aimlessly, she had forgotten how to do her job or why she was there. There were clear blank spots in her memory that she can't recall to this day. She left the hospital to never return. Amy told her husband she felt like she was having a nervous breakdown. She could not make sense of her own mind. She saw a lot of doctors, but no one could tell her what was wrong. She then started to hear voices. The voices were telling her to harm herself in different ways. She tried to ignore the voices. The doctors gave her various medications, but nothing helped to quiet the voices. Then one day, the voices told her to climb out of her second-story window. She was sitting there when she was pushed. She's adamant that she did not jump. She felt the voices as a force pushed her from the window. After her fall, she was lying in the hospital when she was visited by a woman. This woman had previously claimed to have healed many terminally ill patients, as well as successfully conducting many exorcisms. The woman saw something in Amy that no one else had. She said that she could see the demons in that room with Amy. She could also hear the same voices that were talking to her for all those months. Amy had not met this woman before or asked her to come. The woman claimed she simply felt compelled to visit her. The woman prayed over Amy and brought anointing oil to wipe over her forehead. She cast out the demons. Amy's friend said she looked different after that, like her brain had cleared and she was back to her old self. She never heard the voices again. It's unknown where this demon came from or where it went. It seems to have transferred from the burn patient to Amy. It seemed to be a pattern of the demon making its victim hurt itself before transferring onto the next. Hopefully it was cast out for good. Amy remained positive about having her life back, happy she was able to survive the demon.
Starting this list as fantastical as possible, this is a board game commissioned by a vampire. It's said to exist somewhere, but hasn't been rumored to be around since the 70s. Although, if that's true, it's an extraordinarily sturdy board game, as it was created at some point in the 1700s. Jack de Muerte means game of death, of course, and was created to ease the boredom of one Prince Dracula of Wallachia. Our second generation vampire was bored of the ins and outs of daily murder and bloodbath. He wanted a real challenge, one that couldn't be provided by his cushy vampire air lifestyle. So he reached out to the sorcerer Dimitri Diablo, who took up the challenge to create the ultimate supernatural board game of death. He slaved over the coals of hell for over a year before coming up with the definitive death-dealing, dice-rolling, Dracula-pleasing experience. The first playthrough was attended by Dracula, Dimitri, another vampire, a witch, a lichen, and a human. The playing board takes you through a damned castle and surrounding cursed forest. There are dice, riddle cards, and a magic crystal ball to move the game along. Sounds pretty boilerplate for board games, but just you wait. Magical beings will materialize during play and attack the participants. Demons, poltergeists, vampires, werewolves, zombies, and more will show up as active astral projections. While warding off these aggressors, players will quest for the devil's unholy grail, said to give a pure evil soul the ultimate power while damning the rest straight to hell. High stakes to say the least. On this initial playthrough, only Dracula and Dimitri survived, to the prince's great delight. After a while, as all princes do, Dracula got bored of his new toy and sent it off to the human world for a laugh. Humans, without the powers associated with being a vampire prince, are easily haunted and possessed by the beings that inhabit this game, causing all sorts of trouble. Coming back to that last sighting in the 70s, it killed 43 people, despite only 6 actively playing. Although, it did happen in Iowa, which at least added some excitement to their dry, boring lives. Sorry Iowa, it's not you, it's me. Coming in at number 4, Boards and Beans. Okay, this one isn't any one specific board game, but it is an entire haunted board game cafe. You should probably avoid playing for too long here unless you want to adopt a little ghost to take home with you. Back in 2016, the owners of a Regina-based board game cafe started noticing some strange happenings around their store. They saw a little girl looking out the window. Doesn't seem too spooky, right? In fact, at first, she thought it was her granddaughter. But then her granddaughter walked in from the other side of the room, scaring her absolute pants off. After this, many other sightings took place in the board game cafe. Customers would complain about strange noises and that they had been touched by an unseen presence during their time in the coffee shop. Multiple sightings of a new employee behind the counter were reported as well, but there was no new employee to speak of. Ghosts would cause mischief as well, opening their industrial dishwasher and sending baked goods flying across the room. There's also a supposed video of a specter moving through the store as well, causing footage of the owner to distort in an odd way, but that is yet to be fully explained. Eventually, the paranormal and supernatural team was called in, leading to the debunking of some of the claims. However, the investigators did still find some unexplainable things and went away not being 100% sure what to think about it. So if you want to play some normal board games in a haunted environment, Boards and Beans is the place for you. Coming at number 3, Ouija. What would a cursed board game list be without the classic spirit talking board? You take a board with the alphabet printed on it and numbers 1 through 10, yes or no, and you put a planchette on that board, and then you put your fingers on the planchette and bam! Paranormal experience. Interestingly enough, they were regarded as simple parlor games when they first came out until American spiritualist Pearl Curran popularized their use as a divining tool during World War I. Since then, the spooky Ouijas have grown in popularity as spirit mediums. Churches have publicly warned against their use, claiming that demonic possession is a very real risk, although occultists tend to be more divided. On one hand, there are plenty of positive aspects to contacting the spirit realm. You can learn a lot or get closure from a loved one. However, they also know that inexperienced or reckless users do have a higher chance of being attacked or possessed by otherworldly entities. The scientific community remains unconvinced though. They believe Ouija to be a form of pseudoscience, with unconscious movements controlling the pointer through something they call the ideomotor effect. Whoever you believe, there's no denying the popularity and notoriety of a Ouija board. Demons and malevolent spirits have been reported to show up, especially in the last decade or so. One of the more popular tales is that of Demon Zozo, who we've done a video on in the past. Go check it out. A man claims that his daughter was almost drowned thanks to Zozo's influence, and also that she got very sick with an undiagnosable illness. There have also been stories of folks not respecting or even outright laughing at demons they've conjured and paying the price big time. Don't mess with the Ouija. Coming in at number 2, Beyond the Gates. Remember VCR board games? You would set up a board with all the pieces and then fire a tape into your VCR and click play and it would make that whirring noise, and then it would instruct you on how to proceed. You could pause it at certain times to make sure that the timing was right, and they always had the most ridiculous mascots / hosts. Yeah, those were the days. Beyond the Gates is one of these, found in a family's old video shop. A pair of brothers discovered it while going through their estranged, deceased, alcoholic father's video video store. When they play it, the host, Evelyn, will ask if they're willing to risk their souls. She also asks about their father and has creepily specific knowledge about the players. So of course they turn off the tape, but soon they find themselves waking up at 3:13 a.m., drawn to the cathode ray tube TV. To win the game, they must collect 4 keys, each of which is hidden somewhere nasty. After pulling keys out of drifter, midriff, and police heads, they face off against some nasty ghouls in a secret gated dimension in their basement. At this point, it's play or die. When they ask the proprietor of a game shop about the game, it's revealed that no one has ever beaten it in the past. And whenever the game is returned to the shop, it's not the players doing the exchange. Gotta love a cursed game return policy though, just in case. If you didn't know, this hypothetical board game originated in a 2016 movie of the same name, Beyond the Gates. If Barbara Crampton is gonna steal my soul, so be it. And at number 1, Rap Rat. He's Rap Rat and he's the boss. Better listen up, kids. Another VHS board game. This one was meant for kids, done in a similar style to Mousetrap. An anonymous storyteller posted his experience with the game online, detailing all of these sick and twisted details. First time he and his siblings played, the little brother left the room crying immediately after seeing Rap Rat. This hideous mascot barely resembled a rat, with ears too big, a swollen mouth, and 2 rotten pointy teeth. The thing that scared them the most though were his glassy fish eyes. He screamed, "Wait your turn," in a demonic low-pitched voice before flashing terrifying images on the screen. A tarantula, a hornet stinging someone's eyes, a pit of writhing cobras, a bloodied syringe, you name it. Naturally they got rid of the tape right away, but not before seeing enough nightmare fuel to last a lifetime. Years later, the same guy found it in his childhood bedroom. He and his girlfriend decided to watch it for laughs, but didn't end up laughing. They were even more terrifying images than before, and when they tried to take the tape out of the player, it burned their hands. A neighbor even called the police because a strange person was scratching at their front door. Needless to say, they wanted to know what the hell was happening. After doing some research, they found out that a child had died in the sweatshop where the rat puppet was made. The child's mother laid a curse upon the production and claimed to summon a fear demon. Her last words to the folks at the company were, "Apparat will curse you." So of course, the big shots over there had a chuckle and named their mascot after a loose anagram of the demon. Apparat, Rap Rat. Smart move. Now anyone who sees Rap Rat will be unable to escape him. Even if you see a normal version of the rat, he could still be lurking in the shadows, waiting to reveal his true horrible self. Sheesh. And I thought board games were just for fun. What did you think? What's the creepiest board game you've ever played? Are there any good ones I missed? Make sure to let me know down in the comments.
Coming in at number 5, we have the Midnight Game. It is recommended that you do not try to play this game at home. The Midnight Game was created as a punishment for those who have broken the laws of pagan religion. Of course, over the years it has turned into a risky game people play, testing to see if the consequences are real. This game is no joke, and there is a very real chance of death to those who play. To play the game, you have to follow some exact rules. You must play the game at 12 AM or it will not work. You will then need to gather some exact materials. You'll need to get a candle, a piece of paper, a writing implement, matches or a lighter, salt, a wooden door, and at least 1 drop of your own blood. If you are playing the game in a group, each person needs to have all of these materials individually. Once you have everything that is required, you need to write your full name on a piece of paper. You can then prick your finger and drop the blood onto the paper. Make sure all the lights are turned off, then place the paper on the wooden door, placing your candle on top. Knock on the door 22 times. The time must be exactly midnight on this last knock. Then open the door, blow out the candle, and close the door. You have just allowed the Midnight Man to enter your home. From this point, you may relight your candle. The game is now to avoid the Midnight Man in your completely dark home until 3:33 AM precisely. It is a risky game of hide and seek. If you are not successful in hiding from him until this time, he will torture you with your greatest fear. He will then remove your organs one by one while you're unable to stop him. You'll know the Midnight Man was here if you feel a sudden drop in temperature. You'll also know because your organs will be gone. You might see him in the corner of your eye like a shadow in the darkness. You will even hear him whispering from the shadows. If you do manage to survive until 3:33, the Midnight Man will leave your home and you will be safe. If you break any of the rules, like turning on your lights or attempting to sleep, you will have lost the game and maybe your life. Again, I have to stress that you should not play this game. You have nothing to gain, but you might just lose your life. Nothing good about that.
Number 4 is One Man Hide and Go Seek. The one-man hide-and-go-seek is a ritual for contacting the dead. This is also considered a paranormal game you might try for fun. Wandering spirits are always looking for bodies to possess. This game is to summon these spirits but offering them the doll instead of a human body. For obvious reasons, this is kind of a risky game. The spirit could just up and decide, well, you know what, I'm gonna take your body instead of the doll you're offering. Now, to perform this ritual, you will need the following items: a stuffed doll, a needle and red thread, nail clippers, one sharp tool, and a bathroom with a bathtub and a counter. To start the ritual, you take the doll, clip off the pieces of your nail, and put them inside the doll. Sew the doll back up with the red thread. You will then need to tie the doll up with that thread. You will then need to fill your bathtub with water, and then find a hiding place with a cup of salt water on the ground. This should act as some kind of defense for this creature. Once all of the preparation is done, you can start the ritual. You're gonna need to give the doll a name. This can be anything but your own name. For the sake of this video, let's say Lucy. When it turns 3 a.m., you say the doll's name 3 times. Lucy, Lucy, Lucy. You then need to place the doll in water. Turn off all of the lights, go to your hiding spot, and turn the TV on. Count to 10 with your eyes closed. This is when the game of hide and seek starts. Once you've counted down, go back to the doll with your sharp tool in hand, stab the doll, and say, "You're it!" This is a very weird tag. Take the doll out of the bath and place it on the counter. You can now run and hide. You now need to look out for the doll as they will be trying to find you. To end the game, you simply need to say, "I win," 3 times. It might sound like a harmless game, but if something goes wrong, it could be deadly. The soul that finds the doll might not be a happy one, and then you might have created the next Annabelle or Chucky. Alternatively, the soul might come to find the doll, but choose you instead. You could become possessed with no help of being rescued from your new hell.
Coming in at number 3, we have Candyman. I think we've all heard of the Candyman game. For anyone who doesn't know, Candyman is an urban legend, or a slave who returns from the dead for revenge. To summon Candyman, you need to look into your mirror and say his name 5 times. Once you have completed saying his name 5 times, you will see him behind you. He will then kill you with his hook hand. Why would you call on him for that? I don't know. The tale goes that Candyman is really a man named Daniel. He worked on a plantation in New Orleans. He was a talented painter. The plantation owner chose him to paint a portrait of his daughter. Daniel fell in love with the daughter. When the plantation owner found out about their romance, he chased Daniel out of town. Armed with pitchforks, the angry mob caught up to him. They cut off his right hand, covered him in honey, and then threw him into a beehive. A little unconventional way of punishing someone. Before he passed, Daniel cursed the men and vowed to return for revenge. His spirit could never rest from this anger of how he was treated. It is said as he was in pain, the mob chanted Candyman 5 times. This gave him his name. Some people have reported saying the name 5 times and seeing Candyman standing behind them covered in bees. Maybe he chose who to kill and who to spare. Either way, please don't risk it.
Number 2 is the Ouija board. The Ouija board is used by paranormal investigators to amateurs looking to contact their loved ones. The Ouija board was created on the spiritual belief that the dead can communicate with the living. This became prominent in the 19th century when people were dying on a large scale. People were searching for a way to connect to the lost loved ones to ask unresolved questions. At first, these boards were sold on every toy shelf, seen as an innocent game to connect with lost spirits. The Ouija board has changed since it first appeared in the stores, but the basics remained the same, with the alphabet listed along the top and the teardrop cursor used to answer the questions. One man named William Fuld believed completely in the board. His company bought the product and were the first to produce them. He claimed the Ouija board often spoke to him. It told him to build a new factory. He would later come to jump from that factory roof, ending his life. The Ouija, the wonderful talking board game, became a cultural staple when it hit the shelves in 1891. It started out as an innocent game. Over time, as more and more people use it, more stories came forward of demonic possessions. The Ouija board over time became an evil and demonic tool. It was pulled from toy shelves. It became the center for satanic groups and rituals. The board started to be feared. Hasbro does still own the trademark to the boards and sells them on a smaller scale. The Ouija board continues to survive and thrive even after public panic, technological advances, and several generations of users who claim it's everything from a connection tool for good to the work of a devil. So, what would you do with a Ouija board? Some people use it to connect with the lost loved ones, others use it to see if a place is haunted, taking the board to old hospitals or abandoned buildings, hoping to connect to the spirits there. Of course, some use it for satanic rituals, hoping to make deals with the devil. Whatever you might use it for, it's all dangerous. You are opening a door and welcoming in unknown entities. They may pretend to be the loved ones that you're looking for to contact, revealing their true identity once they've latched onto you. It is something you should stay clear from. You could be releasing an evil that no one alive knows how to get rid of.
And finally, coming in at number 1, we have Bloody Mary. Bloody Mary is similar to Candyman, but much more terrifying. To understand why you shouldn't summon Bloody Mary, we should first look at her origins. Mary was an accused witch. She claimed to not be though. She lived secluded in the forest selling her herbal remedies to get by. The townspeople called her Bloody Mary. They did not dare cross her path. They feared if they came too close to her, then they would be cursed. It is rumored once cursed that cows would go dry in food stores would rot before winter. The little girls of the village started to disappear one by one. No one could find where they had gone. It was like they had disappeared into thin air. Grief-stricken, the family started to search the woods and local buildings. Due to lack of clues as to where the children had gone, the suspicion grew towards Bloody Mary. They believed her magic could have taken the children without a trace. One night, one of the young girls from the village awoke. She started to follow an enchanted song only she could hear. That's very hocus pocus. Her family was woken by this and tried to stop the girl. Unable to restrain her, they followed her. The whole town awoke to see what was going on. One of them noticed a glowing light from the end of the town. They went to investigate and found Mary with an enchanted staff pointing towards the girl's home. When they noticed Mary, she fled. A mob formed and gathered their weapons. One loaded his gun with silver bullets, rumored only these could kill a witch. He managed to land a bullet into Mary. She dropped to the ground. They dragged her to a bonfire, tied her up and lit the fire. As she burned, she screamed a curse at the villagers, that if she was mentioned aloud to a mirror, she would return to avenge herself. Once she was gone, they investigated her home. They found graves for each of the missing children. She had been using their blood to keep herself young. Since then, if you say Bloody Mary in a mirror 3 times, you'll be cursed by her spirit. You'll become trapped in the mirror. Your soul will burn for eternity as she did while she claims and destroys your earthly body. Her curse is not something anyone should use as a game or risk the consequences of summoning her.